big picture. It is Thursday morning. It's almost 9 a.m. and I'm Bryn.
Yes, and I'm Collin. So
we're happy you're here.
Yeah. So here's what we're going to chat about, all the things that are going on today.
Yeah. We had an eventful evening.
We
well,
did.
not evening. Oh, my gosh. Morning
Right.
for us. Jeez.
Yeah.
We've been up since 2:30, guys. Bear
Right.
with us. So there was really strong winds today. I mean, Pike County, Ross County, they were impacted a lot. Amy Steigerwald, she's currently in Pike County. We will check in with her. She's seeing a lot of damage this morning.
Right.
And so the U.S. men's national team, they are playing tomorrow, and the Columbus crew will be joining us later in the show to talk about their other World Cup watch party that they're having later this week. And then, Collin, do you want to talk more about the LGBTQ+?
So we are being joined by the
Affairs
LGBTQ+ Affairs Commission. It is a new commission formed by the Columbus City government to advise the mayor and council on various issues affecting the LGBTQ+ community. So they're coming in later this hour around 9:30 to speak with us regarding some of the efforts that they have done and what they are aiming for, especially as we wind through Pride Month.
Yeah,
in
I
June,
mean,
so.
Saturday is the Pride Parade,
It
right? I
is.
mean, that's when we're expecting hundreds of thousands of people to come down to downtown Columbus.
Right, largest event
Yeah.
that Columbus hosts every year. It's bigger than Red, White, and Boom. It is a massive event downtown. So,
so that would be really a fun conversation to have with them.
Yeah. So
let's get back to the weather.
Right. So
yeah. I mean, Illinois was hit really bad. I mean, some parts of Iowa, Indiana, and even like southwestern Wisconsin, they were hit. I mean, I have some videos as well that I just put in of this twister that hit Illinois. I mean, look at that. The twisting and the swirling and the damage. I mean, just really intense storms.
Because this was mainly like the Effingham area, which if you don't know where that is, that's probably 3 hours
south
east of St. Louis, 2 hours east of St. Louis, 3 to 4 hours south of Chicago. It's way far downstate. It's down there on 70. But you know, Illinois this year, as we kind of mentioned, has already had the most tornadoes of any state so far this year, and they're fast approaching a record for the state number of tornadoes. So Illinois this year has already gotten an incredible amount of tornadoes for them.
Well, let's introduce Lily. Hi, Lily.
Hi, Lily.
You are new. Good. You are new to our team here at 10 TV, and you had a very busy morning, girlfriend.
It's been a very busy couple weeks. I think every weekend that I've been here, it's been weather impact alert. So
yes,
welcome to spring.
Welcome to Central Ohio spring. Absolutely. So you were on the air this morning at like 4 a.m. Kind of walk us through when we broke into that coverage in our stream.
Yeah. So initially, me and Meredith went on streaming this morning for a severe thunderstorm warning. For parts of the area. So mostly in the southern counties, we saw that big line that came in from Indiana, pushed through all the way and came down eventually to our southern counties. Once we were streaming with that, we kind of started to see what we call the velocity radar. So we have a thing on our radar that we kind of see where you can see the spin of the winds and how they kind of get started up. And from there, we were like, oh, that looks a little interesting. And then maybe 10 minutes later, they issued a thunderstorm or a tornado warning.
Right. And then, you know, I don't know how much you can speak to this, but obviously we got some of that rain later yesterday evening. Did that affect, you know, really what we saw farther to the north in terms of intensity?
So it was kind of a preliminary event. It kind of gave that initial being like, hey, you've got a warm atmosphere at the bottom, and that can kind of help fuel the storms as they come in. Specifically for the storm that we saw, the line that came in this morning, it didn't really have too much of an impact on it. It gave it like the proper conditions to become a little bit stronger as it pushed in. But for the most part, that line was already so strong by the time it came into our area. Thankfully, we were forecasting it to be a little bit higher originally, but by the time it pushed a little further south, by the time it came in, which was good for our Franklin Metro and our surrounding Columbus Metro, but for our southern counties, it was a little bit.
Yeah. And I know that, you know, even after it moved out of our viewing area, which is basically all the way down to Portsmouth, it moved into that Huntington, West Virginia area, really into West Virginia. And they ended up with a number of tornado warnings later this morning. And, you know, I don't know how much, because I know you guys are involved in all of these weather channels, weather chats that are going on. You know, did anything come out of those that you've heard so far this morning?
As of this morning, no, but we have been seeing a lot of damage from that initial tornado warning that we saw that we were reporting on earlier today around 4:45, I think. It's 4:30 when that initial one came in. But we've seen lots of damage reports from that. Essentially, what came out of that tornado specifically, because that's what I can talk on best, initially was a debris ball, what we call it. So we saw the initial kind of rotator of debris. We see kind of, hey, there's something in the atmosphere right now that we're looking at, and it could indicate having that updraft of having just material in the air. Yeah. So once we saw that, me and Meredith were like, okay, we know it's coming. And then that's when we were checking the velocity radar, seeing the wind spin. And that's where we really saw most of our damage reports over by Elm Grove.
Okay.
Right.
And Amy, she was there this morning, just
down in Pike
really
County.
like walking us through as the sun started to rise when we could really start to see some of that damage. And she takes us there right now. Take a listen.
We're starting to see the damage here in Pike County, specifically the Elm Grove area. As we kind of pan around, you can really see those down wires, and that is kind of the story all across this area. We're right near State Route 32, which was closed throughout the morning because of, you can see this extensive damage. We're seeing many trees down. You can see that business, that barn entirely wrecked from the storm that came through here last night. Now, we did make our way around the area a little bit north of here, Chillicothe, Waverly, not quite seeing the same story as far as damage goes, but I want to come back over here. I'm going to walk this way and kind of pick up one of these branches just because you can't quite tell while you're driving, but this is what we're seeing. It's pretty tall, definitely would make an impact to your car, but it doesn't look like that obviously in some pictures. So just be mindful, these types of situations where there are wires down, you want to make sure you're treating them as a live wire. They've got that entire portion of State Route 32 blocked still for a good reason as they work to clear things out. So just be mindful if you're in this area throughout the day, that is the situation that you will encounter. Be safe and treat everything as a live wire. Reporting in Pike County, Amy Stuggerwald for 10 TV News.
Okay.
So obviously some damage impacts down there.
And before that video, there was a dog running across the screen. Right. I mean, like it kind of, havoc was wreaked across that area with all these high winds. Dogs are getting out and running around. So
I guess really, and now that this is all done and over with this morning, really what kind of impacts are we looking at for the rest of the day?
Basically, we've got a flash flood warning for at least the next 30 minutes. So we saw so much rain this morning, and that will kind of linger into the later parts of the afternoon. I'm expecting everything to be cleared out by the time you get later in the afternoon, but today is going to be really breezy. That's our main focus for today. We've got wind speeds, wind gusts up to like 30 miles per hour. So if you're driving outside, you need to watch out for the side road puddles, the floods that you might see on the roads, but also because of the winds. Like semi-trucks, big vehicles are going to have pretty hard times driving on the roads. So that's basically your main impact today. Okay. But it's sunny.
Yes.
And tomorrow,
it's great.
Sunny.
We love it. We want good weather this weekend for
Yes.
sure with Pride and so many people coming into town. Lily, thank you so much for all your work this morning and coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Absolutely. So yeah, the power outages Amy was talking about with all those down lines, like we cannot reiterate it enough that do not touch those lines. Do not approach them. If you see one down, just call 911. First responders will come out. They kind of block off the road just to help people not even drive over them, just to kind of stay clear until like the electric companies can get out there.
Right, and we were taking a look at those kind of all morning long. So
I have
really
them pulled
that
up right now,
because I was gonna say that area that goes through is
So right now the outages have improved a lot since this morning. I mean, at one point there was like 4,000 people in the southern part of like our coverage area without power. But right now there's about 394 outages kind of in like Gahanna area. And then if we move up towards Newark, Alexandria, 231 without power. And then it's kind of sporadic in central Ohio. But then when we move down to like the southern part near Chillicothe, Ross County, Pike County, I'm pulling up the map here. It says there are still...
There's a look at South Central
there we
Power.
go. Yep, over 1,000 without power right now.
Right, so that is all mainly...
and that's near Piketon and Waverly, and that's where Amy was this morning.
Yes.
Just so much lightning, like every 10 seconds. The thunder, we saw it all this morning with her, and that's where she was with that live shot. So I'm sure crews are out there trying to get it restored as quickly as possible, but when they're navigating down lines, there's a safety factor to all of this and what they're doing.
With that. Let me go ahead and pull in the AP Ohio map as well, and that'll give us a look at some of Central Ohio as well, because obviously, so South Central really handles that southern part of the state. Here in Central Ohio, not a lot.
Right. See how I said it's sporadic? It's just kind of all around the metro, but normally, but up towards like, the eastern part, like Gahanna, there's more outages.
And we get down here towards the, West Virginia, where we did see a couple extra tornado warnings pop off this morning. Some people without power, though. Both of those power companies, though, expecting power restoration sometime by midday day.
Right,
today.
because we know the weather, it has moved out. It's going to be pretty nice for the rest of the day. So I'm kind of glad that, it happened when a lot of people were asleep,
Yeah.
It wasn't during rush hour or anything. So Lily, Meredith, thank you for your coverage this morning. And thank you for keeping all our viewers safe. So on that note, coming up next, let me look at my...
Yes.
So we have Dr. Whitney Ragland. She's with Kids Mental Health Foundation with Nationwide Children's Hospital. And so we're really switching hard gears right now from weather to mental health. But the UK announced this new policy basically where it's 16 and under, they're not going to have access to certain social media sites. And it's all for their mental health. So we're going to go more into that and if the US would maybe adopt anything like that.
On your Thursday. Thanks for joining us here on The Big Picture. I'm Collin.
And I'm Bryn. Hello. Yeah.
So there's been a lot of conversations regarding social media use, and especially social media use when it comes to kids. We've now got an entire generation of kids who are, when we look at 17 and 18-year-olds, these are kids that were born, 2009 at this point? So, I mean, these are kids who have never experienced a world without social media.
Right, or a phone glued to their hip.
Right.
Or an iPad.
Social media, Facebook, obviously MySpace existed when we were in school, but Facebook was really the big launch into that around 2010, 2008.
And I think the struggle with a lot of this younger age group, like specifically with 16 and below now, I mean, we experience it too. These phones are with us at all times.
All times.
At any moment, you can see who commented on your photo, what text you got. Back in the days of MySpace or AOL, we would have to, get our parents off the computer, get permission to go on the computer and have your hour time there.
On the phone at that time.
But right now, it's all just so accessible and, harmful information and negativity is also a part of that. And that's all accessible at the touch of their hands.
Right.
365.
So that being said, we want to bring in Dr. Whitney Ragland Bignali, the Associate Clinical Director of the Kids Mental Health Foundation. And she's also a pediatric psychologist at Nationwide Children's Hospital. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us on this Thursday.
Right. And the reason why we're talking all about this is because the UK Prime Minister announced earlier this week that there's a plan now to ban social media for kids 16 and under. This was a really big deal. Obviously, in the US, we don't have anything like this. But when you heard about this news, what is your reaction to that? And do you feel like this is a solution to help children 16 and under?
Well, I was a little maybe shocked a little bit, but I'm not totally surprised. I think in general, we know that there needs to be some guardrails in place because with all screens, The brain is actively developing, and we want to have some guardrails in place for kids as their brains are developing. And we know that technology is everywhere, at school, at home, where your parents have it all the time. And so how do we help our kids with these and have the guardrails in place depending on the type of technology they want access to?
Now, looking back, like what we were talking about when we were younger, we didn't have all this social media at the tip of our fingertips. So do you feel like this total ban that's happening in UK is the support that these kids actually need?
Well, I think in general, kids need support all around. So they need support, especially within their families, with their parents, knowing what they're using. But I also do think that there needs to be some policies out there that keep social media companies accountable for some of the harmful things that they are there, and that we can then help parents make those decisions when they're working with their kids to decide if they have access or not.
So is there any research supporting the choice of 16? I believe Australia has completely banned social media for those 16 and under. Why that number? Why not 18 and below?
Well, in the US, when we look at the research, most of it is just comparing teenagers versus non-teenagers. So we don't really have a specific age. I do think it's more than just an age. I think it's more about the maturity of the child, because we want to make sure that any child that has access to social media feels confident in who they are. They have great relationships with their parents. They can communicate when they see things that are not right. And they also know the warning signs of when they're on it too much. And I think that can happen at any age, but specifically, is a 16-year-old the same 16-year-old for every child? No. So I think it really depends on each child and their maturity and where they are versus a specific age.
And when we talk about the effects of social media, and it really happens to everybody, adults and kids alike, is that, how social media works and is designed, it kind of gives you that instant gratification. And we talk about social media addiction, just like being addicted to anything else. What kind of causes, what causes someone to become addicted to that endless scrolling, that instant gratification of social media?
I think with anything, especially technology, there's instant gratification, there's constant interaction, and you get feedback pretty instantly. And in general, our brain starts to like this constant stimulation. And so when you have that, you then oftentimes will start to ignore other things that seem less entertaining. And so the more you get those dopamine hits, those things that feel good, you continue to do it. And so it's natural, I think, to get really, really involved in something when it feels good to you or you're enjoying it. And so these apps, screen time, are all developed for us to enjoy them. So it's very easy for us to use them too much.
Absolutely. And do you feel like kids these days, especially that 16 and below age group, they feel maybe pressured to be on social media? Because I know growing up too, like everyone had an Instagram. So it was like, oh, well, I'm going to make an Instagram in high school. Is it kind of like that mentality? They feel like to be a part of their social circle, they really need to be online.
Yeah, I think it's always going to be that fear of being left out, like especially for teenagers and preteens. You want to be connected with your friends. You want to be doing what they're doing. And so it can be really challenging when you think they are all doing it and you're not. And so I think it's important to have them think about other ways to connect with friends beyond social media, because I think right now when everyone thinks that someone is on a device, then if you're not, then you think, oh, then they're going to be, hanging out or connecting more than with me, and you'll feel left out.
And I mean, we always talk about how parents need a parent. I think parents play a really big role in this. I know Meta, Facebook, all those groups in the U.S., they're trying to implement a lot of safeguards, guardrails to help protect children. But just maybe a total ban, do you think that would, help parents who feel like they don't have the support, they can't pay enough attention to always, be monitoring what their children are doing on their phones?
I don't know exactly. I'm always skeptical sometimes because I think when something is off limits, kids then still try to get to it. So I do think that in general, parents do need help. And so there have been a lot of work that different agencies have done to try to either categorize different social medias to say the safety of them. Parents need help with those things you've mentioned, which is like different social media companies trying to put like teen accounts and things in place where I think could be helpful. But I do think it's hard because, as I mentioned before, all ages and each child is different. And I think that as parents and caregivers, we really need to be having those conversations with our kids and educating them about all types of technology, not just social media, but gaming and other things, because all of them have potential harms that could affect a child.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Whitney Ragland-Bignall, the Associate Clinical Director of the Kids Mental Health Foundation and Pediatric Psychologist at Nationwide Children's Hospital. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming up, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to elaborate. I mean, it's just such a fascinating conversation.
Yeah.
It's so important because that is such an important age when your brain is still developing.
Right. Yeah, and it's, we've advanced in all of this connectivity that in so fast. Because I was trying to think, when did I get an Instagram account? It was probably 2018. I was late to the I was really late.
I was 14. I got a Facebook when I was 12. I was crazy.
You were really into it.
I guess I was.
Yeah. I mean, because I remember
sorry, Mom.
I remember asking my mom. I was because all of my friends at that time were on AOL Messenger and MSN and whatnot.
Right.
And that was still at that time where it was scary people are out there. So I think. No, I wasn't allowed to be on there. So
I don't think I was really allowed to be on AOL either, but I think I made an account anyway. See,
right.
I'm one of the bad. I was one of those bad kids.
I was a good kid. We also had dial-up, so it was easy to tell who was on the internet because
for sure
you couldn't make a phone call.
Yeah.
But anyway, coming up the rest of this hour, we are talking new approved ingredients for sunscreen. We're also being joined by the Columbus LGBTQ Affairs Commission, talking about some of the work they're doing when it comes to advising the city and city council on some of their decisions and how it affects the LGBTQ community. Also, the crew joins us talking about some World Cup activities. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Welcome back to the Big Picture. We have Dr. Jasmine Roberts-Cruz and Thomas Savage joining us right now. Thank you guys for coming in.
We are so excited to be here.
Yes, it's an important weekend this weekend here in Columbus.
So what we're talking about is because the LGBTQ Commission was really formed late last year with that mission of advising and informing city leadership on goals and decisions that really affect that community. Talk to us a little about, the outset of that, how that commission was selected, and some of the goals that have been worked on so far.
Yeah, so In terms of the selection process, I don't really have a lot of information about that in terms of how the commissioners were selected, but I believe there was a call that went out last, I think, October, for the residents to just basically apply to this commission so that, city officials would be more informed in terms of some of the issues that are affecting the LGBTQ plus commission, or LGBTQ plus community, excuse me. And then from there were 13 commissioners who were selected, and I had the opportunity of being selected as the chair of the commission. It's been just a wonderful opportunity to essentially advise the mayor and city council about what are some of the core issues that are affecting the LGBTQ plus community. I think there is this perception that Columbus has got it all together, and I think in a lot of ways we are very advanced and progressive in terms of issues that affect the queer community, but we could do better, right? Because at the end of the day, we do still live in a state that has passed unfortunate legislation, anti-LGBTQ plus legislation. And so I think Columbus has a great opportunity to send a clear message that we're not going to go back in the closet. We're not going to be villainized. We're not going to be dehumanized. We are here, and we're going to fight back.
And what drove you to put in your application to be a part of this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we talk a lot on the commission about our why. Why are we doing this work? We are a cross-section of the community. We're speaking on behalf of the community, but we're also very much a part of it. And our commission is a very wide range of folks. For me personally, I did not grow up in Columbus. I grew up in the Deep South, and that is a very specific experience. My background is in education, and when I was a classroom teacher, I taught middle school, which is so fun, so exciting. But, the stories that stick with me are from students who, regardless of what I was teaching them, what they found important was their ability to connect with me over their lived experience, and what they took from their experience from me was honoring that lived experience, including the rough things, including issues of gender and sexuality. And I enjoyed so much being a resource for them, a trusted adult. And I also, in reflection, know that that's not as common as we would like it to be. And so as I have progressed in my life and my career, I know the value of having adults who advocate specifically for youth and center them as the ones who are inheriting all of the work that we're doing. And so for me, knowing what it is to live as a youth who is part of the LGBTQ plus community, knowing that we need adults, allies to stand up and to be guiders for youth today. And so really all the work that I do is through that lens, and my work on the commission, that we serve all members of the community. My specific lens is being there to figure out ways to make the world a little bit easier for youth. But for me, that means bringing them to the center, allowing them to be leaders today, and knowing that doesn't start post-high school graduation, that doesn't have a title. For me, leadership is a process, and I enjoy being in a position to platform young leaders.
Amazing. So what are some of the top priorities that the commission's working on?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. I think the biggest thing is just to make sure that LGBTQ plus residents know that there are resources available for them, right? I think there is also this perception that because of all the anti-LGBTQ plus sentiment that has unfortunately increased not only in the state, but also across the country, that the resources are all dried up. And that's furthest from the truth. Now, of course, those resources are a little strained right now with all the legislation that is going on. But just the fact that, hey, how can we clearly communicate to our residents that the resources are still there? Also, on the commission, we want to make sure that we're fostering trust. Right? A lot of this work that we're doing is going to be community driven. So we do actually have a listening session coming up next Thursday, June 25th, 6 to 8 p.m., where we're actually going to invite the community to basically tell us, how do you all want us to do this work, right? It's only going to be as good as how we engage with our community. So those are just some of the top priorities that we have for our commission.
And how can people get involved? I know you said on Thursday you have an event, but is there anything else happening besides that?
Yeah, so we have our commission general meetings every third Wednesday in city council chambers. And so I think that's a very easy way to get involved thus far. We are actually looking for people to serve on some of our committees. So we have 4 committees on the commission. We have a health and social services committee. We have an executive committee, a advocacy and policy committee, and then our outreach and engagement committee. So those are, again, another way that you can kind of get involved in the commission.
And you kind of mentioned it talking about specific legislation, but the question that we posed to Stonewall Columbus when they were on last week was really, why are these things still important? Why is pride still important? Because, there are some people that are in the mindset of maybe we don't need this anymore. We've come so far, we don't need it. But then there's also the argument that it still needs to be there.
Why are you laughing about that? Please.
There's so many reasons. It almost reminds me of the whole post-racial sentiment back in 2008 when former President Obama was elected, and it was like, oh, we don't need to talk about race anymore. I want to harken back to what the executive director of Stonewall said at the Pride Brunch, and this notion that visibility without protections, that's actually not effective, right? And so that's why this commission is needed. That's why Pride is needed. Visibility without some of those political protections, without legislation that's actually going to affirm LGBTQ plus people, we need that, right? And so that is a big reason why Pride is still very relevant in today's society.
And I think that's perfectly captured by the theme of Pride this year, Until We're All Free. We speak a lot about intersections. And the truth is, we know for a fact that trans people aren't safe at this time period. They're very much under threat. You add, when you add in the components of race and sexuality or age and sexuality, all of these things, these matters that still need addressing, Pride hopefully is evolving to the point where we start to have more explicit conversations about that angle of it. And so I don't think it's that we don't need Pride anymore, but maybe we need Pride to be an evolved version of what it once was, and to have more nuanced conversations around what it means to have a truly free, represented people.
And I feel like this Affairs Commission is doing just that.
Yeah. I think going back to your question about priorities, one of the priorities I have as chair of the commission is to make sure whatever issues that we're working on, that we make sure that we pay specific attention to those who are the most marginalized within the LGBTQ plus community. So that includes trans people of color, that includes queer people of color, that includes our elders, right? So often our elders get left out of this conversation. I mean, why not really advocate for our elders? They're the ones who made sure that we could even be in this position to have a commission, right? And of course, as vice chair said, our youth. Right, they're going through. There's so many people that we, need to be paying close attention to in this community, and it just, like I said, is a complete honor to be in this position to do that.
All right, thank you both so much for coming in and talking with us, talking about some of those initiatives that the commission is working on. We'd love to have you back on to talk about as those continue to progress through.
Absolutely.
So coming up next, we are joined by an OhioHealth dermatologist, Dr. Frank Morocco, going to talk to us about some new changes in sunscreen recommendations. We'll be back.
we are talking about a topic I'm passionate about, and that is skincare, because this is the largest organ on our body, everyone, and we got to take care of it. You only get one, you know?
Right.
You only get one. So there was a new, what's the word? Study. There was a new product, I guess, essentially approved by the FDA, and it's called bemotrizinol. Now, joining us right now, we have Dr. Frank Morocco. He's an OhioHealth dermatologist. First and foremost, thank you so much for joining us today. This is a mouthful to pronounce, but for people watching right now, what is it?
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. So, yes, it's a new molecule. We're really excited about it. This is the first new ingredient that's been approved in over 25 years for sunscreen and skin protection. And what it is, it's actually a great new larger molecule that checks all the boxes that we haven't had in sunscreen in the past. So it does a really good job for UVA blockage, which is the big one for wrinkling of the skin, photo aging, and also skin cancer. The other nice thing about it is it's very photostable, which means that it won't break down over time as quickly as our other sunscreens in the sun. And it's also, which I think is more important, it won't absorb into the body. It'll stay on the skin because it's a larger molecule. And so those three things make this really a superior product.
And this has been approved in other countries, European countries, even Japan for many years. Why are we a little bit late to the party on this?
Well, with the FDA, a lot of regulations, and it takes time to get things passed. And we've really pushed with the AAD and leadership to push this through with bipartisan improvement. So it's taken a while, but yeah, you're right. It's been in Europe since 2000.
Wow. So when can we start to see this actually in our products that we can buy in the U.S.?
Yeah, so unfortunately, it's going to take a little time. So we'll start seeing some products roll out in August. So early August, we should see some of those products come out. One company in particular will have exclusivity at the beginning, but then a lot of other companies will come out to market and be able to provide this.
Okay, well, this sounds great for your skin. So does it protects against UVA and UVB as well?
Correct. It's broad
Okay.
spectrum, so
Yeah.
protect against both of those UVA and UVB, and that's the important. And right now, since it's not out, we still recommend anything SPF 30 or higher. And the key is to reapply every 2 hours. That's a hard one to do. A lot of people struggle with that, but if you can try to reapply every 2 hours, that's very important. But you want to make sure that they are broad spectrum. They block UVA and UVB, and you also want to make sure it's water resistant because they can sweat off.
And when it comes to this new formulation, the recommendation in the past has been like a shot glass full of the sunscreen that we've always been used to, whether that be zinc based or, the other forms out there. Is that going to still be about the same recommendation? Like, is it still going to be a good amount that you have to apply?
Yeah, people still only apply about 20 to 50% of what they should apply on their skin. So I believe that this is going to be the same amount, but make sure that people are using that amount when they're applying it, because people still will not use enough sunscreen, and that's one of the problems.
Mm-hmm. And with the zinc-based sunscreens, you sometimes get like this layer of gray almost if you put it on your face. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. You get the haze.
Yes, you get the haze. So bemotrizinol you're not going to get that. And it can be in a spray as well, right?
Right. It's more elegant, and they're going to have to combine it with other ingredients, but it's not going to give that chalky white feeling. And I will give a lot of credit to a lot of the companies. They've done a good job of making more of the Zinc. They have a lot more tinted sunscreens, which are really nice for different skin tones, and those really do take away some of that chalkiness. But yeah, with this product, you won't have that white leftover that a lot of patients don't like.
And again, why is it so important that people remember to put sunscreen on daily, even in the winter when the sun isn't shining?
Yeah, the sun is always here, and reflection off of surfaces, especially snow in the wintertime, you can still get that sun absorption. You can still get burnt on cloudy days. So you want to make sure that you're putting it on daily in the morning to help prevent from that ambient light from burning. And so that's really important to make sure we're doing it every day.
Wonderful. Dr. Frank Morocco with OhioHealth, thank you so much for coming on today and talking about this.
Thank you so much.
The word I was looking for was molecule. There we go. But I'm not in science. Okay. So I was actually in Japan, and this is legal there, and I bought a product, sunscreen, because they have this sprayable sunscreen that I was like, oh, that would be so easy to spray on my face before I put on my makeup, and it's great. I don't get that hue.
Well,
so
it's
big fan.
Right. And, that's the trope that you always saw in cartoons and old movies was the big white streak
right,
down the nose.
Exactly.
Which was, the leftovers of, the original zinc sunscreens that were just caked on white sunscreens.
Yeah.
But
this should be pretty good.
Okay.
Cool. And products will start having that in there in August starting. So very cool.
Yeah. So big topic of conversation right now. Of course, it is the World Cup. Everything World Cup is going on.
The World Cup is happening right now? Who would have known?
But a lot of stuff going on with that. And of course, the city of Columbus, we've been hosting the Ecuadorian home team.
Yes.
And we've been talking a lot about summer. Obviously, the Columbus Crew is a big deal. We've been talking a new women's team. Coming up after the break, we are joined by Rob McBurnett with the Columbus Crew to talk about watch parties.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Woohoo.
Welcome back. It is 9:41 on your Thursday. We are talking all things soccer right now. Rob McBurnett from the Columbus Crew. Thanks so much for coming
on.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us all. It's been a fantastic World Cup so far, and it's only just beginning. The second matches for everybody begin today.
Yes. You guys have been busy. And let's talk about the Ecuadorian team that's been basically living in Columbus, living at this facility, the Crew facility, for like a month. What has that experience been like?
One of the greatest things that we have here in Columbus, in addition to the incredible soccer fan base, is our facilities. So if you haven't been to a game at Scott's Miracle Grove Field, it's an amazing venue. We're able to host. We had Ecuador for a friendly against Guatemala, and then the OhioHealth Performance Center. World-class facility, which we've heard from when FIFA comes in, Olympics, U.S. men's national team. And so as we were talking about a moment ago, FIFA has a process to where you can apply to host World Cup teams. So all 48 teams have a home base here in the United States, Mexico, or Canada, and going through a very competitive process. Ecuador, multiple other federations visit our facility, and Ecuador said, Columbus is a great city. They have great facilities. This is where we want our home to be for a month. So their entire federation came here late May, and they'll be here throughout their time in the tournament.
And we really do have a great soccer facility. I mean, when we look at Scott's Miracle Grove Field, used to be lower.com, now Scott's Miracle Grove Field. That was a big improvement over historic Crew Stadium, which is obviously still a great facility. But
yes,
Columbus has put a lot into making professional soccer a thing.
100%. And it's a collection of the entire city that allows us to be able to be a host for not just Ecuador this summer, to be part of the World Cup, even though we're not hosting matches. But it was a key component of us bringing the NWSL here beginning in 2028. And then also, you look at the number of U.S. men's, U.S. women's national teams matches we've hosted at historic Crew Stadium, and we've hosted at Scotts Miracle-Gro Field. And then earlier this year, the Olympics will be coming to Ohio and Columbus in 2028. And it was such a beautiful moment for us to get that email and get those conversations, but to think this city and these facilities and our ownership group are bringing the Olympics to our state for the first time in 2 years, when we'll host 9 matches and host multiple federations and their guests and their tourists, and everybody's going to come here and invest back in the community that's invested in the sport and is passionate about the sport.
And I know it's tough with like American football, but soccer, football in European countries, I mean, it's such a big deal. And we're seeing it with the World Cup being here with all the fans. So when we're talking about the Olympics coming to Columbus in 2028, like, how are you guys preparing? And then when you got that email, were you surprised, or was this something that the crew was fighting for?
Well, I say first, one of the main things that is so powerful about sports, but really soccer, is it unites communities. And that's something that Haslam Sports Group, the crew, and our NWSL club take so seriously. And as you said, the fact that whether it's a crew match, whether it's an NWSL match starting in 2028, there are people from all walks of life and all backgrounds who enjoy this game. It is the Globe's game. And to be able to host the World Cup and host Ecuador, we've seen the number of people who are coming in for this event and experiencing our communities, including here in Columbus, and we're going to be able to do that in the Olympics in 2028. So when you look at OhioHealth Performance Center, we expect that multiple federations will decide to spend their time here in multiple days as we host those 9 matches. And then we'll also have a second world-class facility that's specific to our women. And that was a key component of getting as many matches as we did, because we'll be able to host multiple federations over that stretch. And it's amazing because those teams, those fans, they're going to be staying in our hotels. They're going to be going to our restaurants, and they'll be able to experience Columbus as they're here. And we're able to show them how great our city is, while also bringing the game and those fans to our community.
Right. So 2028 is going to be a big year.
Huge
Obviously,
year.
with that,
Lots
we've got
of
the kickoff of the NWSL. You know, there's been a lot of action, a lot of decisions making going into that. Where do things stand really at this moment on that?
As far as for NWSL, so
And there's a game Thursday, right?
so there is a game on Friday
on Friday.
next week.
There we go. Okay. For
So-
NWSL.
Yes, for the NWSL. So prior to being awarded the team, we were granted the NWSL Challenge Cup, which is next Friday, Scotts Miracle-Gro Field. Tickets are still available for anybody who wants to come. Gotham FC, which Ohio's own Rose Lavelle plays for, from the U.S. Women's National Team, as well as the Kansas City Current, who has one of the most amazing players in Timwa Chengwei, who's just an amazing athlete, leading the league in goals for the past 3 years. It's the 2 champions from last year. So the top 2 teams from 2025 are coming into town, and we'll host them for a neutral site match. It's the first time that NWSL will play here. It's the first time that they decided to have a neutral site for this competition, and they chose us. And I think that was one piece of the process of acquiring the NWSL team that, as you said, will start play in 2028. The big question we always get is, where do you stand on brand? Where do you stand on colors? We launched a fan survey a couple of weeks ago. We had hundreds and hundreds of responses within the first 24, 48 hours, to where we want to make sure that that represents our community and our fan base. And then also recently we launched an application for our fan council, where people who want to be involved along the journey of the next 18 months before we play the first match at Scotts Miracle-Gro Field in 2028 can help us have those conversations of, what are the traditions that we want to have? We know there are some things from the crew that could transfer over based off of the soccer passion here, but we want to make sure that this NWSL team represents the fan base that's specific to this, and the athletes who are going to be representing us.
And from the research that you're getting back, are you finding Columbus fans want this new women's team to kind of have the same colors as the Columbus crew, or just kind of really look and have its own identity?
Those are all things and conversations that we're having. We've had some conversations on our own about that, and at the end of the day, we need to have the input, because one of the great things about sports, as we talked about, is it represents this community, not just here in Columbus, but if you think about the crew and the players that we have in the World Cup right now, they represent our city. And so we want to make sure that the brands, the images, the traditions, the things that we do on match day match what the fans want. So we're seeking as much input as we can to help seek that direction, because as you think about the Chicago Cubs, the New York Yankees, all these teams, these are brands, these are names that will hopefully last hundreds, if not 150 years on to eternity to represent our city.
For the fans that maybe are thinking, why is an NWSL team coming to Columbus? With this Challenge Cup coming on Friday, what do you hope people here in Columbus take away from that event? If they're just kind of, maybe if they don't go, but if they're just kind of around the stadium, around the area, what do you want them to take away from seeing that cup happen here in Columbus?
I think to your point, right, everybody knows the passion for soccer in this community, and the stadium is sold out. People show up to these games, and the people are going to show up to these women's matches as well. And what's amazing as you think about the soccer landscape, we've been able to see the atmosphere for U.S. women's national team matches when we've hosted the She Believes Cup for the past couple of years, and you have the top athletes in the world in those competitions. NWSL is the top soccer league for women in the entire globe. So when you think about the athletes that will be playing in the 2028 Olympics here and across the country, the women who will be playing in the Brazil World Cup next year, and hopefully we're hosting World Cup activities in 2031 for the women, those players are on NWSL teams. And so they will be able to see that these are the top elite athletes in women's soccer across the world, and just be amazed at who they are, both in the community as well as on the field.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you can go.
Okay. So, it's exciting to get another professional team, and we saw how the community rallied around to save the crew a number of years ago. But the announcement of bringing in a women's team has not been met without controversy, especially over the talks of McCoy Park. We know that, the crew is involved with some of these discussions and determining solutions with, meeting some of the Southside community where they're at. What are some of these recent conversations that have gone on about McCoy Park and some of the controversies that have come up from that Southside community? And
in layman terms, can you elaborate for our viewers what position the crew is in currently when it comes with this NWSL team?
So as far as for the NWSL team and the conversations around McCoy Park, the most important thing for us is we want to make sure that everybody realizes that we are committed to this community in so many different ways, including on the Southwest side. And ultimately, we will be the neighbors in that community. And so we want to be the best neighbors possible. And so we've had multiple conversations with the city, with council, with Columbus Rec and Parks, to make sure that we are identifying what the community wants as it relates to the parks. So we had a great session where a bunch of people turned out on Tuesday, where we unveiled the plans with Rec and Parks of where things stand right now, and the designs for what will happen at Green Lawn and what could happen at Greenleaf, as well as Birdliner for adaptive sports access. But we still need that community impact to make sure that we are delivering for the community, just like we deliver for the community with the crew and will with the NWSL team throughout the years. We think about our Stay in the Game program, where we're committed to making sure kids are staying in school to combat chronic absenteeism, our Soccer in School program. As we've talked about, this community is so important to us, and we invest in it in so many ways based off of how the passion they have for us as well.
Does the crew feel at all like you guys have been kind of caught in the middle of this controversy with McCoy Park and City Council?
We're really focused on making sure that we deliver for this community, we deliver for this team. We're going to have a world-class women's training facility, and at the end of the day, can be a win-win and will be a win-win outcome for Columbus. We're going to be able to bring in top women's athletes in an incredible facility, and then also be able to deliver for the Southwest community with great amenities, parks, green spaces.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the renderings look beautiful, right?
Yes, so the facility will be a 45,000 square foot facility. We talked about OhioHealth Performance Center, where Ecuador is now, and we've had multiple federations stay there. This will be the top women's facility in the entire world. That is what we are committed to doing. And a lot of it is modeled after what we did at OHPC. And with that, with the experience that we've had, we've actually been able to incorporate new elements to make several elements even better than what we have at OHPC, because these, as we talked about, are the elite athletes around the world. And these women deserve to have the top resources. And that's something that we know hasn't necessarily been the case for some women's professional sports teams, but that is ultimately what they deserve, and that's what we're going to deliver.
All right, before you go, what
Yes.
is going on with the watch parties for the World Cup?
The watch parties were fantastic. My girlfriend and I were at Bridge Park last week where thousands of fans showed up, where they enjoyed the match together, celebrated a huge 4-1 win, but then also spent time at the restaurants and spent time at the bars and with our community members. Our next one is tomorrow at 3 o'clock, Columbus Commons. Gates open at 1 o'clock. This is a free event. Anybody can come. You don't need to get a ticket. Just come on site. It's a great family-friendly atmosphere. There's going to be bounce houses, food trucks, and the other piece is at halftime, there are going to be some fans who win tickets to the World Cup. So come on out, enjoy the match, big LED screens to watch the game, enjoy the crew, and hopefully another win for the U.S. men's national team. And our fingers are crossed that our very own Max Arfson will get a chance to play as well.
Yeah, it's such a big deal. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about this.
Thank
I'm
you so
excited
much.
for the Olympics. That is going to be crazy, you guys.
2028, 9
Oh my
matches
gosh.
at Scotts Miracle Grove
I'm
Field.
so excited. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to The Big Picture. It's 9:56 on your Thursday morning. That was just a great conversation with the Columbus crew just about the impact of soccer.
Right.
And just how it really is contributing to the economic development of this entire city.
You're from here. And,
Yes.
I mean, I've heard about it. We came so close to losing them.
Oh, yeah. I wish I had the old photo of me at the old Crew Historic Stadium with the players. It's such a cute photo. But I mean, growing up playing soccer, it's so important to have those teams to look up to. When you're a kid, go to them and see them. So it would have been really devastating, I feel like, for Columbus to lose the Crew. And I mean, we see their fan base. There's a huge fan base for the Columbus Crew.
Oh my gosh, they're huge.
They're
I played
huge.
soccer for a couple years in middle school because for some reason in Southern Illinois, there was a big push for soccer for a few years. And that's where everybody really got involved in it then. But no, you see people who are diehard dedicated.
Fans.
Scott, who is one of our tape editors here.
Scott Kelly, shout
Scott
out.
Kelly
He
can
loves
tell
the
you
Crew.
everything about the Crew. I've got friends who are,
Yeah.
Crew games.
And it's those fans that are that kept the team here and that are helping make the difference and that ultimately are leading to these other development opportunities for Columbus here in Central Ohio. But we are going to switch gears now because we're going to take the soccer talk to Boston.
Yeah.
So right now, the Scottish team, the Scottish team, right?
team, yeah.
They are in Boston for the World Cup and all of their fans have come along with them. And if you know Scottish people, they
can
know
put it back.
they know a thing or two about drinking, and they have basically outdrank Boston.
Yeah.
Those bars there are running out of beer.
Sam Adams
Yes.
ran out and had to have an emergency refillment.
That's crazy.
Dropped in because of how much the Scottish team
The
drank.
Boston tap room there. I mean, oh, look at the kilts. I really just wonder how maybe like we could figure out the gallons, how many gallons or kegs of beer they've consumed over the last week or so. That is crazy. Especially Boston. I feel like people in Boston drink a lot too. So they're being like out drunk by the Scottish.
Right. I was like,
so
let's see.
It's so funny.
We're going to go to ESPN.
But my favorite part about the World Cup even happening in North America is just the fact that so many Europeans are experiencing parts of America that they would not have experienced otherwise.
All right.
Like Boston or
Yeah.
Midland, Texas, because so many foreigners, they come here, they come to LA, they come to New York, they come to Miami, but they don't get to see really like, you know, the heart of America or North America. So it's been so fun seeing their reaction to a lot of American things.
So I do have a number.
What's the number?
Oh
my gosh.
According to NBC News. And this is just from one. This is
One
just
bar?
from the Samuel Adams Boston Lager tap room.
Oh
This
my
is
gosh.
just from the tap room. They consumed more than 4,000 pints. That translates